strongly believe that to become a good public speaker, you must become proficient through practice. It is through our trials and errors that we learn the most. I consider myself to be a pretty confident person who feels comfortable speaking in front of others, but this wasn't always the case. Through most of my childhood and my adolescence, I was actually a very quiet and reserved individual. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized that most good leaders are actually also very good public speakers. To be able to get someone to do something for you, you must be able to convey your thoughts and desires through the spoken word. Now that we've looked at some of my childhood, let's focus on some of my public speaking aspects prior to my military service. I've always been a musician and always loved music. And as a lead singer of a band, I used to have extreme difficulty in speaking to the audience in the crowd prior to singing my first song. I would realize that once I sang that first song, I instantly would have more confidence and it was that much easier to do so. And I realized that as I did this more and more, it just became easier in general. I also worked as a fireman, and in doing so, as I would receive increased responsibility, I would be forced to speak to larger groups and give instruction. This too assisted me in doing that. Now that we looked at some of these attempts at public speaking, let's look at my entrance into the military and its relation to public speaking. When I joined the Marine Corps, I instantly realized that my drill instructors were very confident and very good public speakers. Part of this was due to the fact that one, we were a captive audience and weren't really able to give reactions, and two, the fact that they had a strong desire to teach and instruct what it was they had to show us. The only problem I realized from them was their confidence in some way actually made me feel a little reluctant to publicly speak. Now that we've looked at some of my early views of public speaking in a military context, let's look at some of what I've done to actually engage and instruct and be proficient in public speaking. I realized early after joining the military that I enjoyed leading and I enjoyed taking responsibility. With that responsibility also came a need for me to speak publicly. It started in small groups, sometimes became larger after that, and eventually I was not only speaking to my peers, but speaking to senior military personnel as well. This did nothing but help to assist in my confidence. I also began to instruct. Some of these instructions would require me to speak to groups of up to 100 people at a time. This was my first major public speaking engagements, and when I initially started, I was told by my boss to just teach the class based off the media I was using. I did it, I made an attempt, and it was marginal at best. I've since then gotten much better, and it was things like that that assisted me. I've gone on to be an instructor, a drill instructor myself for the military, which caused me to work with thousands of individuals and speak to them on a regular basis. I've worked as a swim instructor, martial arts instructor, and all those is required that I have speak to large groups of people. It is again through this practice that I believe I have become pretty proficient. Now that I've given you a glimpse into some of my public speaking engagements, let's go ahead and recap what we've talked about. I firmly believe that to become a good speaker, you will only get better with practice, and through that practice you'll become more comfortable. To be a proficient public speaker is also aided by the fact that if you understand what you're saying and feel what you're saying and know the media that you're conveying, you will only be that much better. Thank you very much.